It was supposed to be just another day in the bustling city square. The kind of day where people walked by without really seeing each other, their heads down, eyes glued to their phones. But for me, every single person who passed my little art stand felt like a lifeline. My name is Mia Carter, and I've always loved painting. It's been my escape since I was a kid. Those bright colors on canvas made everything else fade away. But lately, things haven't been so easy. You see, I'm fighting something bigger than any brushstroke or palette knife can fix: cancer. The doctors told me I needed chemotherapy if I wanted a chance at beating this thing. Problem was, insurance didn't cover much, and saving up for treatment wasn't exactly possible when you're working two jobs just to pay rent. So, I did what I knew best: I sold my paintings. That morning, as I set up my easel under the old oak tree in the square, I had no idea how different my life was about to become. Little did I know, someone extraordinary was about to walk right into mine. The city square was alive with energy. Street performers juggled fire, buskers strummed guitars, and tourists snapped photos like they were trying to capture the soul of the place. Amidst all that chaos, I stood there, surrounded by my paintings, vibrant sunsets, quiet landscapes, even a few portraits of strangers who'd caught my eye over the years. Most days, people barely glanced at my work. They'd shuffle past, lost in their own worlds. But today felt different. Maybe it was the way the sunlight hit the canvas, or the fresh coat of paint still drying on one corner of a piece. Whatever it was, more people stopped than usual. A couple bought a small watercolor of a flower garden. An older man admired a cityscape I'd painted last winter. For the first time in weeks, I allowed myself to hope. Then, out of nowhere, he appeared. He didn't look like anyone special at first glance. Just another guy in jeans and a leather jacket, headphones around his neck, hands shoved deep in his pockets. He strolled casually toward my stand, stopping only when he reached the edge of the crowd gathered around me. At first, I thought nothing of it. Another curious passerby, maybe interested in buying something cheap to hang on their wall. But then he looked up and everything changed. His eyes weren't just looking, they were seeing me, and not just me, but every brushstroke, every color choice, every tiny detail on those canvases. It was like he could feel the weight of each painting, understand its story without needing words. "Who painted these?" he asked, his voice low but clear enough for everyone nearby to hear. "That would be me," I said, pointing to myself with a nervous laugh. "Mia Carter." He nodded slowly, taking another step closer. Up close, I noticed the faint scar running along his jawline, the sharp angles of his face softened slightly by stubble. There was something about him, a presence almost magnetic, that made it hard to look away. "I'm JD," he said simply, extending a hand. I shook it, unsure what else to do. Little did I know, this moment marked the beginning of a journey neither of us could have predicted. JD spent nearly 20 minutes examining my paintings, asking questions about technique, inspiration, and process. At first, I thought he was just being polite, another customer trying to make conversation before making a purchase. But as the minutes ticked by, I realized there was something deeper going on here. "You've got talent," he said finally, leaning against the edge of my easel. "Real talent." "Thanks," I replied, smiling despite myself. "Means a lot coming from you." He raised an eyebrow. "Why's that?" "Because most people don't get it," I admitted. "They see art as decoration, something pretty to fill empty spaces. But for me, it's more. It's how I survive." JD tilted his head, studying me closely.
Survive.
I hesitated, unsure whether to open up to a stranger, but something about him put me at ease. A mix of curiosity and genuine interest that made me want to trust him. "It's complicated," I began, glancing down at my hands. "I've been diagnosed with cancer. Chemo costs money I don't have, so I'm selling these paintings to raise funds. Every sale helps keep me fighting." The square seemed to grow quieter as I spoke, though I knew it was all in my head. JD didn't say anything right away, but his expression softened, turning thoughtful. "That takes guts," he said quietly. "Not everyone would face something like this head on. I shrugged, forcing a smile. What choice do I have? Give up? No way. Not while I still have paint in my veins. JD chuckled softly, then reached into his pocket. For a moment, I thought he was pulling out cash or maybe a card to buy a painting. Instead, he pulled out a business card.
Take this,
He said, pressing it into my hand. If you're serious about surviving, and I think you are, you need to hear what I have to say.
furious. I flipped the card over.
The name printed on it sent a shiver down my spine. J.D. Thompson, art collector and gallery owner. What does an art collector know about cancer? I asked skeptically. More than you think, he answered cryptically. Trust me, Mia, this isn't just about your paintings, it's about changing your life forever. And just like that, he turned and walked away, leaving me standing there with a million questions swirling in my mind. What did he mean by changing my life? And why did I suddenly feel like everything was about to shift in ways I couldn't even imagine? That night, I couldn't stop thinking about JD and his mysterious offer. Part of me wanted to dismiss it as nothing more than a random encounter with a wealthy art enthusiast. But another part, a bigger part, was intrigued. Who was this guy? And why did he seem so certain that he could change my life? The next morning, curiosity got the better of me. I called the number on the business card, half expecting some assistant to answer and brush me off. Instead, JD picked up himself. Good timing, he said without preamble. I've already arranged for you to meet someone today. Be at the Thompson Gallery by noon. Before I could protest, he hung up. By noon, I found myself standing outside a sleek glass building in the heart of downtown. The sign above the entrance read Thompson Contemporary Art Gallery. Inside, the space was breathtaking. White walls adorned with masterpieces, soft lighting casting shadows across polished marble floors. It felt worlds away from the city square where I sold my paintings. JD greeted me with a nod, leading me through the gallery until we reached a private office. Waiting inside was a woman in her late 40s, dressed in tailored suits and carrying herself with quiet authority. This is Eleanor Hayes, JD introduced. She runs one of the top auction houses in the country. Eleanor, this is Mia Carter. Eleanor shook my hand firmly. We've been following your work online, Mia. Quite impressive for someone self-taught. I blinked, surprised. You've seen my paintings. Absolutely, she confirmed.
Shows raw emotion in your pieces, something rare in
Today's market. We believe you have potential, not just as an artist, but as someone who can inspire others. JD chimed in. Which brings us to the plan. You're going to hold an exhibition here at the gallery. All proceeds go toward your medical bills. In return, we'll promote your work to collectors willing to pay top dollar. My jaw dropped. An exhibition. For me, Eleanor smiled warmly. It's not charity, Mia. It's an investment in talent. Now, let's get started. Over the next few weeks my world transformed. JD acted as both mentor and critic, pushing me to create my best work yet. Eleanor handled logistics, ensuring every detail from invitations to catering was perfect. Meanwhile, I poured everything I had into painting, channeling my fight against cancer into each stroke of the brush. But not everyone was thrilled with my sudden rise. Some local artists accused me of selling out, claiming I only succeeded because of pity. Others whispered behind my back, questioning whether I truly deserved the attention. Their words stung, but I refused to let them break me. If anything, they fueled my determination. This wasn't just about raising money anymore. It was about proving to myself, and to the world, that I belonged in the same room as the greats. And then came the day of the exhibition. The night of the exhibition arrived, and the gallery buzzed with excitement. Wealthy patrons mingled over champagne, their eyes scanning the walls adorned with my paintings. Each piece told a story. Some were vibrant explosions of color, others hauntingly dark, reflecting the highs and lows of my battle with cancer. JD stood beside me, offering quiet encouragement as people approached to congratulate me. Eleanor moved through the crowd like a queen, introducing potential buyers and securing bids. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to feel hopeful, not just for my health, but for my future as an artist. Then everything changed. As I greeted yet another admirer, A familiar voice cut through the chatter. Well, well, look who decided to play dress-up. I turned slowly, my stomach sinking. Standing there was Rachel Monroe, a former classmate from art school. Back then, she'd always been jealous of my natural talent, often belittling me in front of our peers. Now, dressed in designer clothes and dripping with confidence, she looked every bit the successful artist she claimed to be. "What are you doing here?" I asked, trying to keep my tone neutral. Rachel smirked, glancing around the room. "Oh please, don't act surprised. Word travels fast in this world. The little nobody holding an exhibition at Thompson Gallery. Classic story. Almost too good to be true." Her words hit like a punch to the gut, but I forced myself to stay calm. "If you're looking for drama, you've come to the wrong place," I replied coolly. "This is about my work, not yours." Her smile widened, though it didn't reach her eyes. "Your work, or your sob story. Let's face it, Mia. People aren't buying your paintings because they're good, they're buying them because they feel sorry for you." Before I could respond, JD stepped between us. "Is there a problem here?" Rachel turned her attention to him, her expression sweetening instantly. "Not at all, Mr. Thompson. Just catching up with an old friend." "Save it for someone who cares," JD said sharply. Then turning to me, he added, "Ignore her, Mia. She's just bitter because you're succeeding where she couldn't." Rachel scoffed but walked away, leaving me shaken. JD placed a reassuring hand on my shoulder. "Don't let her ruin this night. You've worked too hard for that." I nodded, swallowing the lump in my throat, but deep down, doubt crept in. Was Rachel right? Were people really supporting me out of pity rather than genuine appreciation for my art? Just as I began to question everything, something unexpected happened. A man approached me, his suit perfectly pressed, his demeanor calm and professional. "I'm Alexander Langley," he introduced himself, "owner of Langley Investments. I must say, your work is extraordinary." "Thank you," I said, still processing the encounter with Rachel. He gestured toward one of my larger pieces, a swirling depiction of storm clouds breaking into sunlight. "This one speaks to me. It's powerful, raw, real. I'll take it." To my surprise, he handed me a check for an amount so large it left me speechless. "Consider it an investment in your future," he said with a smile. "Now excuse me, I believe there are more masterpieces waiting to find their homes." As the night went on, more buyers followed suit. By the end of the evening, nearly all my paintings had sold, raising far more money than I ever dreamed possible. Yet despite the success, Rachel's words lingered in the back of my mind. Was I truly worthy of this opportunity, or was it all just a fluke? The days following the exhibition were a whirlwind. Media outlets picked up the story, interviews poured in, and my social media following skyrocketed. For the first time, I felt like I might actually beat cancer, not just financially, but emotionally too. The support from strangers gave me strength, and the success of the exhibition proved that my art resonated with people. But then, the other shoe dropped. A week later, I received an anonymous email containing photos of Rachel Monroe at a private auction house, standing next to Alexander Langley, the same man who'd purchased one of my most expensive paintings. In the background of the images, there was a familiar piece, Storm Break, the very painting he claimed to have bought for its emotional depth. My heart sank as I scrolled through the pictures. Could it be possible? Had Rachel orchestrated some kind of scheme to discredit me? Or worse, had I been played? I called JD immediately, needing answers. When I showed him the evidence, his jaw tightened. "This isn't good," he admitted. "But we can't jump to conclusions yet." "Then what do we do?" I asked, feeling betrayed and vulnerable. "We investigate," he replied firmly. "And if she's behind this, we expose her." Over the next few days, JD dug deeper, uncovering a web of deceit. It turned out Rachel had connections within the art world, using them to manipulate events to her advantage. She'd convinced Alexander Langley to buy my painting under false pretenses, intending to resell it later at a higher price while tarnishing my reputation. When we confronted her, Rachel didn't deny it. Instead, she laughed bitterly. "You think you're special, Mia. That your little sob story makes you untouchable. Newsflash, You're nothing without pity, and I'm done letting you take what should have been mine. Her words stung, but they also fueled my resolve. I wasn't going to let her win, not after everything I'd fought for. That night, JD helped me draft a statement addressing the situation. We released it online, revealing the truth about Rachel's actions and providing proof of her involvement. Within hours, the backlash against her was swift and brutal. Collectors distanced themselves, galleries refused to showcase her work, and her once promising career crumbled. As for me, the experience taught me something valuable. Success isn't handed to you, it's earned. And sometimes, the greatest victories come not from talent alone, but from perseverance, integrity, and staying true to yourself. But the battle wasn't over yet. With Rachel out of the picture, and my reputation intact, I focused on what truly mattered: my health and my art. The funds raised from the exhibition covered all my medical expenses, allowing me to start chemotherapy without worrying about finances. Each session was grueling, but knowing that my paintings were helping others understand my journey gave me strength. During one particularly tough day in the hospital, JD showed up with a surprise. He handed me a folder filled with letters and messages from fans around the world. People shared how my art inspired them, some battling their own illnesses, others finding courage in the face of adversity. Reading those words brought tears to my eyes. "You're not just an artist anymore," JD said softly. "You're a symbol of hope." Months passed, and slowly I began to heal, not just physically but mentally too. My art evolved, reflecting newfound resilience and gratitude. JD continued to support me, organizing more exhibitions and introducing me to influential figures in the art world. Eleanor became a mentor, teaching me the business side of things so I could sustain my career long term. One evening, as we celebrated another successful show, JD turned to me with a mischievous grin. "Ready for the next chapter?" "What do you mean?" I asked, curious. He gestured toward the crowd gathered around my newest collection, a series exploring themes of survival, hope, and triumph. "This isn't just about selling paintings anymore. It's about building a legacy. Think bigger, Mia. What if we started a foundation, one that helps other artists facing similar struggles?" Tears welled up in my eyes as I realized he was right. My battle with cancer had given me a unique perspective, one I could use to make a difference. Together we founded Art Beyond Barriers, a non-profit dedicated to supporting struggling artists through financial aid, mentorship, and opportunities to showcase their work. Years later, looking back on that fateful day in the city square when JD walked by and changed everything, I couldn't help but smile. Life had thrown me curveballs, but each challenge only strengthened my resolve. And now, surrounded by friends, family, and fellow artists, I knew I'd found my true purpose. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this: sometimes, the darkest moments lead to the brightest outcomes. And no matter how tough things get, never underestimate the power of passion, perseverance, and a little bit of luck. So here's to the next chapter, to dreams yet unfulfilled, battles still unwon, and stories waiting to be told. Because as long as there's paint in my veins, I'll keep fighting, creating, and inspiring. And who knows, maybe someday, someone will stumble upon my story and find the courage to chase their own dreams. Did you think Mia would ever discover the truth about Rachel's scheme? Let me know in the comments below. If you loved this story, hit that like button and subscribe for more thrilling tales based on real-life inspiration. Trust me, you won't want to miss what happens next.